Hey guys, recently I posted a comment on a group in Facebook that was asking if there were any gun ranges with instruction. So naturally I said, hey, AAA Coach does instruction at Pikes Peak Gun Club and Shiny Mountain Shooting Complex. Then there were some other comments like, I-68 Consulting, which I fully support, and also Magnum Shooting Center, specifically the North Magnum Shooting Center. On the Magnum Shooting Center one, I said that maybe they have good instruction. I don't know. I've never taken one of their courses, so I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is that the indoor range is not a suitable facility to learn for a lot of people. Maybe you're not one of those people, and that would be perfectly okay. The Magnum Shooting Center, although they may have good instruction, the point of the post was that indoor shooting ranges may not be a suitable facility conducive to learning. You have people out there that are completely scared of firearms. And if you put them in an indoor range, they cannot learn because they're completely distracted from the concussive overpressure inside of that facility. That was the point of the post. However, you had some other people, saying that, I was bashing Magnum Shooting Center, this, that, and the other thing. I wasn't bashing them. I do have my personal opinions about some instructors and their techniques. I've never been to an instruction at Magnum Shooting Center, so I don't have an opinion on those instructors or their techniques. And this made me think about this. There are several instructors inside of the Colorado Springs area. Some of them may be good, some of them may be not. You cannot rely on the Google reviews. Here's why. The Google reviews are reviews made by those who probably or most likely do not have any kind of firearms experience or little firearms experience, and they have little knowledge on how to instruct firearms. So every review that you see that's like 5 stars or 4 stars, it's like, well, wait a minute, hold on. That person is coming at the review in a student mentality where they have no idea about the subject at hand. Therefore, everything that's told to that student is going to be like God's word. Everything. The instructor can be completely horrible, but the student won't know that because they don't know anything about firearms and they don't know anything about instructing. And they don't know how to put those two together either. So you cannot rely solely on Google reviews. I put together a comprehensive list of things you should look for when it comes to instructors and instruction. So here we go. So this video is how to pick a good instructor. I've noticed that 90 to 95% of the Google reviews are 4 and 5 stars. Most of them are just 5 stars, period, with very few negative reviews. Not everyone can be stellar. If you have a group of 10 people, there's probably going to be 2 people that's stellar. Some of them are going to be mediocre, and then some of them are going to be absolutely horrible in whatever subject you want to throw at them, whether it be firearms, maybe whether it be marketing, whether it be whatever it is. You're not going to have everybody that's going to be stellar at the same thing. So to the untrained eye, these instructors could be the bee's knees. They could seem like they're a firearms genius, a god. In reality, these instructors may only scratch the surface of firearms knowledge, instruction technique, how to put those two things together, and keep it safe, and manage a small or large class. There's a lot to go into it. So they may just scratch the surface. And if you're looking for a firearms instructor that knows their firearms intimately, has the knowledge and capability to manage large and small groups, who can maintain safety throughout the course, you're going to have to look further than Google. So just for an example here, the NRA standards to become an instructor, just a certified pistol instructor, is not high. The bar is not set high. The bar is relatively low. You could take a brand new shooter off the street, have them go through the basics of pistol shooting, and then have them go through the NRA certified pistol instructor course to include the basic instructor training, the bit training, they call it. And then in a weekend's time frame, in one weekend, now that person is an instructor. That's not a high bar. That's not a high bar at all. The shooting standards is not very high at all either. So we have to look at this kind of in an objective manner. NRA is in the business to make money, even though they are a non-profit organization. They are in the business to gather money. So they want as many instructors out there as possible so that those instructors are now NRA members, and they're also paying every 2 years. And they are also buying the material to hand out to the students. You see where I'm going here? So it is in their best interest to get as many instructors out there to meet the minimum and bare standards so they can instruct the NRA courses. The more instructors you have, the more members you're going to create, and the more retail you're going to sell. For example, the basics of pistol shooting, as an NRA instructor myself, if I instruct BOPs, basics of pistol shooting, I have to give my students a NRA marksmanship qualification program book. I have to give them a card of the safety rules. And I have to give them the basics of pistol shooting booklet. That's money from me. So you see how it works here? They're not actually in the business of making awesome instructors. They're in the business of making just good enough instructors. That's not to say that NRA instructors aren't good. There are some very, very good instructors out there that are NRA qualified. I'm not trying to dog NRA or USCCA or any other course. I'm just telling you that when you're looking for an instructor in this kind of setting, there's a lot more to it than just I'm an NRA certified instructor. There's a lot more to it, okay? So to get your best instructor for your money, there's a lot more to it. If you're just looking for a piece of paper to say that you took a safety course, by all means, go to an NRA instructor that only charges you $50. But if you're looking for a good instructor who knows the firearms intimately, knows how to instruct, can keep a safe course, so on and so forth, then you need to go a little bit further than, let's say, NRA, USCCA, or any other singular program out there. Okay, so there are a couple of different criteria for selecting an instructor, in my opinion. And this isn't all-inclusive. This is just what I could think of in the last, hour. I've been typing this up. Really thinking about what an instructor should have, the qualities an instructor should have, and how they're proving that they are a good instructor via their credentials or via their participation. So here are the criteria. Safety, obviously instruction, they need to be able to instruct. Individual thought, they need to be able to demonstrate what they're teaching. They need to have some form of competition knowledge. And they need to know, in general, state and federal laws. That right there will create a pretty damn good instructor, in my personal opinion. Of course, then how long have they been doing it, so on and so forth. So first of all, safety. Safety is the number one priority for any instructor out there, but it shouldn't be a hindrance to learning, right? So what I mean by that is that there are certain risks that one has to take. And they should be able to talk about safety and safety rules in a detailed and constructive manner. What I mean by that is that they might be able to regurgitate NRA safety rules or USCCA safety rules or whatever other safety rules, but can they actually elaborate on those rules? One of the big ones for me is the NRA safety rule of always keep your gun pointed in a safe direction. You can't actually always do that, by the way. It's impossible. The barrel of that firearm will be pointed at something you're not willing to shoot or destroy at some point in its existence. For example, if you go to holster it, whether you are open carry or concealed carry, when you go to holster, you're literally pointing at some part of your body. If you're doing an open carry, let's say 3 o'clock position, and you go to holster it, you're literally pointing at your calf. If you're going to appendix carry for concealed carry, for example, then you're going to be pointing at your huevos, assuming you're a guy, or your pelvis area, okay? You can't actually keep it pointed in a safe direction always. But the general concept is good. You want to strive to keep it pointed in a safe direction at all times. You want to strive for that. And what it really means is just be aware of where your muzzle is pointing, regardless of whether you're aiming or you're not. Which way is that muzzle pointing? That is the general rule. And if an instructor cannot elaborate on that, if all they can do is recite the safety rules, like they're in some kind of cult, you should get up and walk away, because they don't actually know what they mean. Another one is always keep your finger off the trigger and ready to shoot until ready to shoot. Okay. Yeah, that's good too. Okay. Until ready to shoot. What does until ready to shoot mean exactly? That you're pointed at the target, or that you're aiming at the target? Because between pointing and aiming, there's two different things. The instructors need to be able to elaborate on safety rules, not just regurgitate them. Okay, so instruction. So instructors should absolutely be able to instruct the material that they are presenting. They should be confident in their material. They shouldn't be super beholden to that material. What I mean by that is that if you do, let's say you do NRA or USCCA, and I'm picking on those two because they're the most prominent modes of instruction credential that you can get today, outside of, let's say, law enforcement or military. So you shouldn't be beholden to those exact teachings. And if you are, then you are part of the industry inbreeding. That industry inbreeding is something of the nature of, like, if you hear somebody say, you know, I've been shooting firearms my whole life, I don't need instruction. They may have some experience with firearms, but at the end of the day, they probably actually do need some instruction. So if an NRA instructor says, I don't need anything else but NRA, then they're 100% beholden to NRA ways and means. And they shouldn't be, because there's so many other things out there that you can learn, and you can actually develop your individual thought, which we haven't gotten into. Instructors should be able to teach to the individual and not to the group. Now, that might be difficult depending on how big of a group you have. For example, I know that Shields here in Colorado Springs has a CCW course that is a non-shooting course. Basically, this is how I imagine it anyway. You got 50 people, 50, 60 people in a room, and they're watching a PowerPoint presentation, and they have one person speaking on this PowerPoint presentation. That's fine. You don't have to really do much of anything except for speak about the slide. Where the real test comes in is when you get on the range and you're shooting live fire, can that instructor actually teach to the individual? Because that instructor will undoubtedly have to communicate with each student that instructor has. They'll have to explain what grip is, what sight alignment is, what sight picture is, what trigger control is. What I like to call it is sear disengagement. I also like to call the trigger reset the disconnector reset, because I want my students to understand exactly what the hell is going on in the firearm on the inside, internally, to the actions that they're actually doing externally. So teaching to that individual is very, very important, especially when it comes to someone who may be petite, apprehensive, scared, nervous, like super nervous. I've had some customers like that. They're super nervous. And you have to be able to get them to calm down so they can hear the instruction, take the instruction in, and do whatever drill that it might be. They can't do that. In my personal opinion, they're not a good instructor. If they're an instructor, and I've had an instructor like this, you sit in a classroom for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is. And then they're like, okay, let's go to the range. And you go to the range, and they tell you to shoot the pie plate, I don't know, 50 times. And that's all they do. They don't actually instruct you on how to become better. You should give them a horrible review. In my personal opinion, you should give them a horrible review because they didn't actually show you that they can instruct. And then we haven't even gotten a demonstration yet. And they didn't try to make you better. Well, in my personal opinion, I think that is horrible. That's horrible teaching and it's horrible instructing. Individual thought. Let's say we're in a classroom setting and you're listening to this instructor and all they're doing is reading the slide or giving like little bits and pieces here and there. Like they're not really elaborating on the subject at hand. They don't really have individual thought. They're just reading the slide, going, oh, always keep your muzzle pointed in a safe direction. Always keep your finger off the trigger. Always keep your gun unloaded until ready to shoot. Like, you can regurgitate that all day long. But if you can't elaborate on those things, then you're not a good instructor. And if they're only an NRA instructor certified, they have no other credentials. They're not well-rounded. What I mean by that is there's so many other instructor programs that you can take, that one can take if they're really in it. They're really dedicated to becoming the best they can be for their customer. Well, they'll have a bunch of instructor credentials. They might be NRA pistol certified, NRA rifle certified, NRA shotgun certified, and that's great. But that's just NRA, okay? But that does have some merit to it where they're doing a bunch of instructor programs. But then you have other ones such as, 6 Hour Academy. You have Tactical Hive instructor program. You have USCCA and all their various instructor deals. Not to mention you have so many other courses you can take. You have so many other courses you can take here in Colorado Springs alone. If you want to travel, there's some in Denver, there's some in Pueblo, there's some in another state, Arizona, whatever. There are so many other courses that one can take to develop their own personal thoughts in how to instruct. So over time, an instructor who has gone to this course, gone to that course, gone to this instructor program, that course, so on and so forth. They'll develop knowledge that most, by 90%, 95% of the population will not have. They just won't have it. They'll develop a knowledge base that could be sought after. But the problem, again, this is why I'm doing this video, is that a lot of people, they don't know what they don't know. So then they give these great reviews of these instructors when they actually don't know if they're instructing well or if they even know the knowledge at hand at all. All right, demonstration. So demonstration is, in my opinion, is very, very, very important. If an instructor is instructing an individual or individuals, a group of people, if an instructor is instructing their students, let's say to hit a pie plate, which is 9 inches, at, 7 yards. If that instructor doesn't get up and show you exactly what the standard looks like, well, in my opinion, they don't know how to do it, or they can't do it. I think they should be able to show you exactly what the standard looks like. So if they say, for example, like I said, hey, the standard is you're gonna have to shoot 50 rounds at this pie plate at 7 yards, and 50% of those have to hit. Well, at the very bare minimum, the instructor should get up and shoot maybe 10 rounds at the pie plate and hit the pie plate. They've demonstrated exactly what the students are supposed to do. And they've demonstrated that they know what they're talking about and they can do it. And I think that is very valuable. Again, this is my opinion. They should be able to do it. That's especially true if there is a specific standard for live fire. If they can't meet that standard in front of you, then I don't think they're a good instructor at all. Okay, competition knowledge. This goes into that whole individual thinking a little bit, because in addition to getting the firearm instructor courses, other shooting courses, to participate in competition is going to further round out that instructor and their individual knowledge. They're gonna understand the industry. They're gonna understand the standards. And by the way, all the competitions that I've gone to, USPSA, 3-gun, and IDPA, they are ran flawlessly and very safely, and you get to learn some new terminology. When I first went to a competition, I wasn't necessarily humbled. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to I wasn't going to be the top shot, for example. I knew that going into it. But I did learn a little bit about how a civilian range is ran, because I had never really been on a civilian range in that capacity. I've been on military ranges, and they're ran similar, but in this one, like, it was great. I loved it, and I learned a lot going to a competition, and I love competition. So you also get to bone up on your skills. Those instructors may be humbled or they may not be, but if they go into it just for fun and to learn, they're gonna really learn a lot, and it will round them out significantly. Now, that said, it doesn't mean someone who may be a grandmaster or the top shot doesn't mean that they're a good instructor. It shouldn't be your number one criteria for picking an instructor for your next course. It shouldn't be that at all. Because they may be able to shoot, and obviously shoot at the top 10% or 1% or 5% or whatever it is. But can they instruct? That is the key. Can they maintain a calm demeanor? Can they teach the subject at hand? For example, whether it's grip, sight alignment, sight picture, whatever it is. Can they be understanding of the person's apprehension? All these factors go into a good instructor. Just because somebody can shoot well doesn't mean that they are a good instructor. It just means they can shoot well. All right, so state and federal law knowledge. Every instructor who's teaching firearms should have a general knowledge of state and federal law. They should be able to talk about those laws in general, with the caveat that they're not a lawyer and they're not giving legal advice. They're just interpreting the law as they see it. There are several YouTube videos out there, YouTube channels out there that I watch almost on a daily basis. And this is no exaggeration. Attorneys on Retainer is one of them. USCCA, Tom Grieve. Another one is Armed Attorneys. Another one is Washington Gun Law. I'm watching these on a daily basis, just trying to get my head wrapped around laws, specifically self-defense laws. Firearms instructors should be able to talk about self-defense laws, firearms transportation laws, whether it be in-state or out-of-state. They should be able to talk about exactly what you're supposed to be doing to stay a legal firearms carrying citizen. Maybe they don't agree with the law, and that's fine, but they should actually be able to talk about it and give their interpretation of that law. The instructor is there, and the students are looking at that instructor as a base of knowledge. So if that instructor doesn't have a base of knowledge in that regard, then the students should look at that instructor and go, well, why am I paying you whatever I'm paying you? I'm paying you to give me the knowledge that I desire. Again, that's not to say that they're going to be experts on the law, but they should be able to talk about it a little bit and at the very least, point you in the right direction. In summary, my initial post on Facebook was that if you're looking for instruction at a range, an indoor range may not be suitable for learning. That was my initial post on Facebook. Some other people took it as I was bashing the company, and that company is Magnum Shooting Center, which I'm not bashing them. I know they do great work, but I don't know exactly who the instructors are or what they instruct or their techniques. I've never been to one of their classes, so I don't have an opinion on that. But it did get me thinking. Most people who go get firearms instruction either don't have a good knowledge on instruction or very little knowledge on instruction or zero knowledge on instruction, and they probably don't have a good knowledge on how a firearm functions, how to use that firearm. Therefore, I put together this comprehensive list of things you should be looking for. You're looking for your next instructor or instruction company. And those are safety, instruction and instruction technique, of course, individual thought, to be able to demonstrate what they're talking about, especially for live fire stuff, competition knowledge, and state and federal law. I think an instructor should have that criteria be considered a good instructor. It's not all inclusive, but it is a good start for you to look for your next instructor or instructor company. And I hope that you choose AAA Coach for your next. I hope this video was actually insightful for you. If you have any comments, leave them below, and we'll see you later. Tack out.